Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you all? I hope you're all fine and safe. Students, I am your English teacher, and today I am here with the third lesson for your week 1. And today we are going to read a short story from your novel, The Talking Tree and Other Stories. We are going to start off with the first chapter, chapter 1. The name of the story is The Talking Tree. But before we start our reading, let me tell you that by the end of this lesson you will be able to improve your ability to read, because my dear students, as I always say, reading is really very important. It helps you to enhance your language skills, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whether it's thinking, speaking, whatever. So basically reading is the major part in learning language skills. Next, you will be able to learn moral lessons through reading short stories. As you all know that there are many lessons hidden in the short stories. And last but not the least, you will be able to comprehend the story that we read, and you will be able to solve the related exercises. So these are the objectives for today's lesson. But before we start our lesson, as usual, I have a warm-up activity for you. What you are going to do is, today you are going to think about the importance of reading. What you are going to do, you are going to think about the importance of reading. Now quickly take few minutes and think that what is the importance of reading. Done? Very good. My dear students, reading is important because it develops the mind. Reading is the only activity which will develop your mind. Understanding the written words is a way the mind grows its abilities. When you start understanding what is written, it means that your mind is growing. Reading develops the language skills. As I said earlier, reading develops your learning language skills. Either it's writing, either it's or speaking, or whatever, understanding whatever. Only reading is the exercise which will develop your language skills. If you want to improve your language skills, you must make reading your habit. It improves spellings and helps to expand the vocabulary. Reading is the key to learning. So my dear students, reading will also improve your spellings. When you read the words, you memorize them automatically and you learn the usage also. So these are all the importance, the sentences, the words, or the things which are telling you the importance of reading. So make sure you make reading a habit. It is not necessary that you should complete a book in a day or a story in a day. You can read a few paragraphs of anything. You can read a few pages of any book, or you can read newspapers if newspapers are coming to your home. So you only need to do is reading. Read whatever you like to read. Newspapers, novels, stories, blogs on internet, whatever you want to read. Now my dear students, as I said earlier that today we are going to read from first chapter from your novel. So now it's your story time. We are going to read the story together. I am on the first page of your novel with the first chapter, The Talking Tree. Zan's discovery. Zan was in the forest looking for fruit. He was hungry. He sat under a tree and ate some of the fruit he had picked. When he got up to go home, he noticed that there was a hole at the bottom of the tree. He put his head inside the hole. He looked up. He could see the sky above. The tree was quite hollow. Hollow means empty from inside. Zan pulled himself through the hole and stood up inside the tree. There was a smaller hole inside of the tree. He could look out of it. So what's happening in this paragraph? The story is about Zan. Zan was a boy. He was in the forest and he was looking for fruits because he was hungry. He was sitting under a tree and ate whatever fruits he had. When he was getting up to go home, he noticed that there is a hole at the bottom of the tree. What he did was he went inside the tree and he found that there is space inside the tree. So he stood up there and he took his head out from another hole that was in the bark, as you can see in the picture. Okay, what a good hiding place, he said aloud. No one can see me from outside. His voice sounded strange inside the tree. It seemed much louder. It didn't sound the way it usually did. Zan decided to sing a song to hear his new voice. Now, what happened when he was standing inside the tree? He thought that's a very good place to hide. Obviously, because nobody will guess that he was hiding inside the tree. Nobody can hide inside the tree. And he also noticed that his voice has changed because of the hollowness of the tree. Whenever you are in an empty room or in a new house that has no furniture, or in an empty room or empty place, you can hear your voice is changed. When you speak, you can notice that your voice has changed. This is what had happened with Zan. So what he decided to do was he decided to sing a song to see that how much change as is there in his voice. When he sung the song, he decided to go home, but just then he heard someone talking outside. He knew the voice. It was Ali, a boy from his class at school. Now while he was singing, and after he finished singing, he decided to go home, but at the same time he heard the voice of his class fellow, Ali. Ali came to that place and Zan, who was in the tree, could hear him. The singing came from here, Ali said, but I can't see anyone. Can you, Abu? No, answered Abu. I don't think there is anyone else in this part of the forest. Now Ali was not alone. He was with Abu, one more boy, and they were both talking. They were talking about the singing voice that was coming, that they could hear, but they were surprised because there was nobody around them. You must obey me. Now I am reading the next part of the story. You must obey me. Then Zan spoke in a deep, slow voice. Ali and Abu, he said, what are you doing on my land? There was no answer for a minute. Then Zan heard Ali say in a frightened whisper, who said that? Frightened whisper means in a very low voice, which was and also a very scary voice. I am the talking tree, said Zan. Everything in this part of the forest belongs to me. While you are here, you must obey me. If you do not, I shall come to your homes and take you away when you are asleep. Now go and get me something to eat. Now this was Zan who was speaking to Ali and Abu, and he told that he was the talking tree, and Zan and Abu should obey whatever he is saying, otherwise he will punish them and he will take them away from their homes when they will be sleeping. And then he asked them to bring something for him to eat. Now let's read further. Yes, O tree, said Abu, we saw some fruits on the way here. We shall bring you some at once. Zan heard the two boys run away along the path. He smiled as he waited for them to come back. Now both the boys went to get some fruits for Zan, and in the meantime he was enjoying his time as talking tree. Ali and Abu ran back a few minutes later with their hands full of fruit. They put the fruit at the bottom of the tree. Here's the food, O great tree, said Abu. We hope you like it. You've done well, replied Zan. Now you may go home, but remember, you must not tell anyone about me or about this place. If you do, I shall change you into frogs. You must come back early tomorrow morning before you go to school and bring some more food for me. I shall want something to drink too. Now you may go. Now what happened after taking fruits from Zan and Abu? They brought the fruits, they put them on the ground. Zan instructed them, Ali and Abu, that they should come tomorrow. The next day also they should bring something to eat for him again, and with that they should also bring something to drink. And if they will tell this to somebody, and if they will not obey him, he will change them into frogs. Now he was frightening them, Ali and Abu, and he obviously Zan would have been enjoying himself. Zan waited until Ali and Abu had gone. Then he came out of the tree. He was very pleased with himself. Ali and Abu will be angry if they discover who made the tree talk, he thought. They were very frightened. He laughed quickly. Now he was also thinking that they will be angry when they'll come to know that it was Zan who was talking to them as talking tree, and at the same time he was enjoying himself, because obviously it's something to enjoy when you are making your when you are scaring your friends and they don't know it's you, so you enjoy this situation. It's very natural. This was exactly what was happening with Zan when he was doing all this. Now I am on the next chapter. Ali and Abu find out the truth. Now I think in this part of the story they've come to know that it was Zan who was fooling them. Next morning, Zan got up early and went back to the hollow tree. It had rained a lot during the night and the ground was wet and muddy. Zan stepped across the mud and climbed inside his tree. He looked out through the small hole in the side and waited for Ali and Abu. A few minutes later, Ali and Abu came along the path. They carefully put a bag of food and a cup at the bottom of the tree. Zan spoke in his deepest voice. "Thank you, boys," he said, slowly and loudly. "You must go to school now, but you must come again tomorrow." Now what happened next day when Zan reached there, it had rained all night, so the ground was muddy, and then what he did was, the ground was wet also. He went inside the tree, and after a few minutes Ali and Abu also came there, and they had a bag of food with them and a cup also. They put it at the bottom of tree, and then again Zan told them to go back to school and come there again tomorrow. Now let's read ahead. Ali and Abu walked away, but when they had gone a little way, Abu stopped and held Ali by the arm. "I don't think it's a talking tree," he said. "Did you see those marks in the mud near the foot of the tree? I think someone who was hiding there and tricking us." Now this means that Abu was the smarter of Abu was smarter than Ali, and he stopped Ali and said that, "I think it's not the tree who's talking. Instead, there is somebody who is trying to fool us, who is trying to trick us, because the footsteps were printed in the wet and muddy ground, because obviously when it's raining and there is mud all over, when you walk over that mud, your footprints are printed there." So this is exactly what had happened, and Abu noticed it also. "No, I didn't notice," said Ali, "but let's hide and see if anyone comes from that direction." A few minutes later, they saw Zan walking along the path. He was carrying the bag of food and drinking from Abu's cup. "It's Zan," whispered Ali in surprise. "Shall we jump out and frighten him?" "No," said Abu. "I have a better idea. Come with me." Now what happened, after some time, Zan came out of the tree, and while he was walking back to school, Ali and Abu saw them because they were hiding there. They saw the bag of food and and the cup also. So then they came to know that it was Zan who was trying to fool them, and they wanted to tell that they've seen him, but Abu stopped him and said that, "I have a better idea." Now let's see what was his idea. I am on the next part, a surprise for Zan. Abu ran quietly back towards the tree, and Ali followed. They looked carefully at the muddy marks and discovered the hole at the bottom of the tree. Then they guessed how Zan had tricked them. After Zan walked away from that place, Abu and Ali went to the place where that tree was, and they followed the marks that were made on the mud, and they discovered that the hole from where Zan used to go inside that tree. And then they knew what the trick that that Zan had played with them. Okay, let's read further. That afternoon, when school had finished, Ali and Abu looked in the forest for some food. Two long pieces and some smaller pieces. They used these to make a ladder. When they hid the ladder in the long grass near the hollow tree. Next morning, Zen went to the tree again and waited. Soon Ali and Abu appeared, carrying their ladder. Now, what Ali and Abu did, that on the same day in the afternoon, when the school finished, Ali and Abu went to the forest and they looked for some wood, some long pieces and some smaller pieces, and out of those pieces they built a ladder and they hid it somewhere there. And next morning, when Zen went to the tree again, Ali and Abu came there with their ladder. Good morning, O great tree, said Ali. I have brought some fruit juice for you today. I shall climb up to the top of your tree and pour it in for you. Now, what happened next morning? Zen was there, Ali and Abu were also there, and Ali greeted the tree and he said, Good morning, and I have some fruit juice for you, but I will climb up to your head and I will pour it on into you. Hey, no, don't do that, shouted Zen. Now, this is the reaction of Zen. He just shouted that don't do it, don't pour juice on me. Just put it at the bottom of the tree. But Ali was already climbing the ladder. He laughed as he poured the juice over Zan's head. Zan coughed and cried as the sticky drink went into his nose and eyes. Obviously, when you will pour juice on somebody's head, his eyes and his face will become sticky. This is what happened with Zan also. Then Abu climbed the ladder. I have brought you some honey. Some insects are still in it, but I am sure they will obey you and not hurt you. Help! No! Screamed Zan. But Abu was up the ladder. He didn't really have any honey, but he did have a big jar full of sticky yellow cooking oil. He poured the oil on Zan's hair. Zan tried to wipe it off, but it was too sticky. He was covered with fruit juice and oil. Now, what Ali did was, Ali poured juice on Zen's head, and Abu had some sticky oil and he poured that on his head. And Zen was covered with fruit juice and oil. Go away, he shouted. You must never come near the talking tree again. Now, this is what had happened with Zen, and so he shouted and asked them, both of them, to go away, and said that they should not come to the talking tree. All right, O Zen, said Ali, we shall obey. He and Abu walked away through the forest, laughing loudly. Now, in the last part, what Ali and Abu did, they spoke out his name loudly and said, okay, Zen, we will not come back here. So this is how the story ended up, that whatever Zen did, he got back. He was frightening them both. He was tricking both of his class fellows, and in return he tricked Zen. They tricked Zen in return. So, my dear students, as I told you earlier, there is always a message hidden in the story, and this story's message is, as you sow, so shall you reap. I'm sure you must have heard this before also. Whatever you do, come back to you in the same way. Now, I'll talk about your today's assignment. Your assignment for today is, you are going to read chapter 1 from the novel, The Talking Tree and the Other Stories, which we have already read, and solve the exercise 1 given at the back of the book. If you will open your book from the back side, there are exercises given. You are going to do exercise 1. The heading of the page is questions and activities. You are going to do exercise 1 of chapter 1. Okay. Again, students, now here I have some rules for your book maintenance. Just to remind you a few things, that you are going to write your names on the cover page of your book. This is something which you people normally don't do. You write book names on the copies, workbooks and student books, but you do not write names on your short story or your novels. Make sure you are writing names on the cover page of the book. Then the second thing is that cover your book with plastic cover. Make sure you are covering it with the plastic cover. Again, you do this for all other books, but many of you don't cover your short stories book. Third one is, turn the page politely from the top right corner. Again, this is very important, students. You all know how to turn your page. You You are going to turn your page from the top right corner. Don't fold the pages while turning, and don't scribble on your books. Please do. There is no need to underline anything. There is no need to draw any pictures on any page of the book. So make sure you are not scribbling on your book. Now let's discuss what we learned after reading this story. This story tells us that if you did good things, you will get good things, and if you did bad things, you will get bad results. So good things, good deeds, good intentions, good thoughts always results in good returns, but if you'll do bad, you will get bad. So always remember this. With this is the end of today's lesson. Here's a big thank you for you all. Make sure you follow all the instructions. Until I see you next time, Allah Hafiz.